I know now, many years ago, and this is going back into the 1980s, when I was eating a 100% raw diet for a bit there, and my mother thought I was crazy, and my mother's here tonight.
You kept her.
And just the other day, she gave me a basket of sprouts. So yeah, she's great. Talk about committing to something and doing it. And as far as health goes, you tell her something about her health, and she's living it. So, but that's not as easy for everybody as it is for mom. So many years ago in the 1980s, when I was doing this, this man was the man, and Wigmore was the woman, because they were the top of the pyramid there when we were looking up at us raw food people, at the people who were running the movement. And together they founded the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida. He is a longtime noted author of many books and an educator who didn't start out doing that. In fact, he started out being a teacher who retired at 29 years old from teaching college mathematics and computer systems, as well as being a business consultant with the likes of the Apollo mission, MIT, the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory, and Harvard. But he left that behind in order to pursue holistic lifestyles. As mentioned already, he co-founded the Hippocrates Institute, and he acted as the director of research there for the next 5 years. He also helped develop the Hippocrates Live Food Program that has helped millions around the world regain their health through living holistic lifestyles. He's authored many books, as I mentioned, and he published the first holistic lifestyle manual, Survival in the 21st Century, which I know some of you had decades ago. In addition, he's written hundreds of articles for a wide variety of publications. He's lectured for over 10,000 hours at events worldwide. He's also developed over 60 superfood supplements. And as a chef, he has served gourmet raw, live food, vegetarian feasts to over 500,000 people. A lot of live raw food. Mostly in New York. He gives consultations worldwide and offers retreats in Costa Rica, where he resides most of the year. So join me in welcoming one of the pioneers in the living food health movement. Such a joy to have you here tonight, Viktoras Kulvinskas.
Thank you, Bob.
Excuse me, Victor, can I say one more thing?
Go for it.
You heard all that list, right?
Yeah.
But
In
or
82, when I started my wheatgrass business, we were growing it like in my friend's backyard. And when we had to move inside when the winter was coming, we didn't know what to do. And I drove all the way to the far end of Connecticut. And
That's right. Woodstock Valley.
this is in 82.
Yeah.
And Victor's told me what lights to use. In a very short time, he gave me incredible wisdom. He said, work hard and be honest and you'll be successful.
And he's certainly done all of that and even more. And he's total service oriented, and that makes all the difference.
Thank you. And another thing that Victor did, help me get started.
There's a few chairs back here if anybody wants to sit down.
Well, I want to express appreciation for the organizers and the facility here, Kat. And I am greatly pleased to come to this part of the country, which is quite rare for me. I usually do New York, but don't do many of the outskirts. And I'll be doing a program up in Montclair, New Jersey, with Integral Yoga Institute the following week, and then off actually to Chicago, and from Chicago, Maui, and from there off to Detroit, and then back to Costa Rica. And we're having a retreat at the end of June into the beginning of July that is basically entitled Youthing with Youthing with raw foods, enzymology, and medical qigong. So it's going to be a very exciting venture, and a lot of wonderful events are occurring. But you can find this on the website. Now, let's take a look at the subject matter that was intended to be covering, and I'll try to stick to it, though it's such wide in scope, namely the whole issue of vitality. We're living at a culture, as an example, that is so devitalized. One of the chiropractors at the age of, he was already a little past 100, Jack Saltinoff, living in Woodstock, New York. I ended up in Woodstock, living there for a couple of years, up in the wonderful mountains, and I went over for adjustments on a continuous basis, and he was a frequent client of ours in Boston, so we became friends. And one of the questions I asked, I said, Jack, I said, you know, have you noticed any difference in the way you're doing adjustments, how well they hold? He says, you know, you're absolutely right. He says, 50 years ago, the adjustments might hold for as much as 30 days, and actually some of the individuals never needed further readjustments. He says, but nowadays you're lucky if it holds an hour. Muscular tonality degeneration, as well as intellectual degeneration, and it's also the whole physiology. If you look at my book, Survival, the subject of basically facial feature changes, go take a look at yearbooks about 80 years ago, go to high school or college, you'll see everybody had long earlobes. Right now, take a look at it in the yearbooks. 2013, hardly anybody has earlobes. Is there an impact? According to Chinese studies, for thousands of years, they use it as part of genetic makeup diagnosis of individual, how strong they are, how vital they are, what kind of herbs could they handle, what kind of dietary they can manage. And when you have no earlobes, it means you have a very compromised kidney and compromised liver. It means you cannot handle as much stress. And we see individuals collapsing. At Hippocrates right now, about 30% of our clients at this time in history are made up of youngsters under the age of 35 with cancer, Crohn's disease, MS, diabetes, you name it, old age diseases. Matter of fact, right now, 40% of Americans, young people, are affected with old age diseases. They're accelerating to the point where it's being flaunted that we're going to have a generation where the parents are going to be outliving their children. They're falling apart right and left because of the processed fast food, acid forming, totally non-nutrient content foods that are also designed for addiction.